We couldn't do without our great partnerships with everyone we do business with, everyone from Budweiser to Southern Precision Staffing, Vituro Health, Woodhouse Day Spa, and I know I missed some people, Chris Doris, the State Farm team. One guy who's been with us for probably the longest period of time, and that's Jeff Hammock from Spy4Rent. And we like to do business with people that we can talk to on the air. This is not just a commercial. Again, this is a partnership, and we we like talking about their business because it gives us content, and it's always great. And Jeff is here this morning to do just that. Good morning to you, brother. How are you?
Good morning, man. How you doing?
Man, it's great to have you in the studio. And as things try to get back to, you've always come in the studio, though. You're like, screw this COVID crap. I'm coming.
Yeah, there's no cameras. I'm not scared. I'm not used to this end of the microphone, but I'm okay with that.
Well, the last time you were in, man, I could have walked out of here, and you just were just talking to yourself. It was great.
Let's pick it up from
there. A 15-minute interview went like an hour and 45 minutes. It was wonderful. So
somehow you always get caught on sex trafficking.
Well, I do.
That just snags you and Josh every time.
Well, it's just because it's so relevant, but I don't see it, or at least I don't think I see it. I know it's around here, and I know there's hotels. Someone told me the other day about a hotel down on Highway 31 near Bar 31. There's supposed to be something going on down. She's like, don't ever take your kids. And I was like, what are you talking about? In Vestavia Hills? She's like, don't ever take your kids down there. There's something going in and out of that place. And I know there's a place in Homewood, and I just so we may get back into that because I know we go deep on that. But then I was talking about Halloween coming up on Sunday, and you're a great guy, but you do some creepy work because you got to do surveillance, and you're looking at people, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of bizarre things. You've sent me some videos where
let's not broadcast that. Hang on, brother.
I will protect your anonymity in your work, because I will never throw you under the bus that way. And by the way, it's Jeff Hammock, Spy4Rent, Spy4Rent. Go to spy4rent.com, 790-3051. Is that still the number that you?
Oh, yeah.
790-3051. You've sent me some things where this should tell you how creepy this world is we live in, where you've actually been doing surveillance on one thing in a parking lot, hanging from a tree, whatever it is, and then you're actually seeing video of something else that you're not there to do surveillance on. Can you give me an example of you're sitting there watching some dude cheating with his wife in the back seat of a car at IHOP. Next thing you know, you see something else across the park. You're like, what the hell is that?
Well, it's Valentine's Day week. You know, for an investigator, that's like Christmas time, right? So you're sitting in the parking lot and you're watching the little couple get together and they give the roses or whatever, and next to you is the guy taking his wedding ring off in the next car, and he's waiting on his ride. That's Valentine's Day would be one of those that where you just stumble into things. Hotels are another. We're there for one person, and you kind of see the indications of another couple being there. Your rule: husbands and wives don't kiss in public.
No,
they don't make out.
If you see, and I went to Waffle House last night. I went to Publix to see my boy work, and I came out, and there was this couple. First of all, they weren't 18 or 19. 18 and 19-year-olds do kiss in parking lots because they can't get enough of each other, and their hormones are going crazy. But this guy was probably his 40s. She was probably in her 40s, and they're standing outside her car, and they're kissing. And I'm like, okay, they're cheating. And next thing you know, they go in separate cars.
Yep.
Now, I can make an argument. Well, maybe she just got back in town. Hey, meet me at Waffle House before we head to the house. I'll meet you there for dinner. Really good to see you. Even then, they don't kiss like that. And then, of course, they went their separate ways, so I knew something was going on.
The long goodbye.
The long goodbye, yeah.
That's it.
They're hugging, and they when they hug again, I'm like, okay, married couples don't do that shit. They don't.
No, there's indications. It's just like anything else. You just have to look. You have to be attuned.
Do you ever turn your brain off?
No. I'm up early.
Are you in therapy?
I talk to Josh.
Because I would think, much like a police officer, it's probably hard to turn your radar off because you probably see things that you're not investigating, and you'll see it and you'll go, okay, well that's not right. There's something going on there.
I'm more attuned now, I think, if I'm looking at something to the parents in the store and how they discipline their children, that one child that has the angry father or the angry mother and they're screaming back as loud, maybe even hitting. I'm more attuned to that. And I just, challenge anybody to keep their eyes open. We've all been to that store where we've heard the kid 2 aisles over just going ballistic.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had in the paper yesterday where the deputies revived a 1-year-old baby who found its way into mom's fentanyl. It had picked up a piece of drug paraphernalia, put it in his mouth, and the paraphernalia contained enough fentanyl to knock the child out.
Wow.
So, we have bad parents.
Yeah.
Parents struggle. They do the best that they can, but I am a firm believer there are just people that they're not destined to be a parent.
Yeah, they just don't know what they're doing. And the funny thing is they think they're being told that you have to take care of yourself first in order to be a good parent to your baby, and they don't realize that taking care of yourself is not doing the wrong thing, it's doing the right thing so you can be healthy, a healthy parent. When you see things that you're not there to investigate and you know something's wrong, do you interact at all, or do you?
Depends on the level.
Okay.
Yeah. There was one point where I intervened quietly and went and pulled a manager and said, kid's been hit about 7 times under your cameras, and I think you're now in a place where the child's safety is at hand and you have adequate documentation. You need to get your officer at the door to go over and address the mother and look at the palm prints on that kid.
And did he?
Yeah, they went straight away.
Good.
I mean, there are those people who want to intervene. There are too many more that just turn their head and say, it's not my circus.
Well, and certainly this is certainly not a child beating situation, but we're pretty opinionated these days, even when it's a mask type of situation. I don't really want to get into that, but it's amazing how many Karens and how many people are willing to come out now and actually talk to people that they normally wouldn't talk to because they don't like what they're doing, regardless of how stupid or how severe it is. So Jeff Hammock joins us here from Spy4Rent, Spy4Rent, Spy4Rent.com, 790-3051. That's area code 205-790-3051. He does everything from alternative drug screening, GPS tracking, surveillance, you name it, you do it. If you need information on anything or anybody, he can get the information. And whenever I've used him, and I've used him several times, he usually gets the information before I hang up the phone, so feel free to give him a call and certainly go to his website for a free consultation. He can help you out with your case. It's amazing because when I first met you, it's been 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't think I'd ever use a private investigator for anything. And I had a friend of mine who was going through a divorce, and he was looking to find some dirt on his soon-to-be ex-wife and hired a private investigator. And I was like, man, what are you doing? And sure enough, she was doing some things she probably couldn't have done. I didn't do it to that extent, but I have done it to check on employees and check on some of the things that are coming into my business to make sure that everything's on the up and up, and you do wonderful work. When you're talking about being proactive in these particular cases and turning your brain off, and I just got a text, how does Jeff Hammock relax? You sit in a dark room, smoke a cigar, do you?
No, I go to sleep. I'm an old Marine, so I'm up early and I try to go to bed early. But I don't watch sports. I don't hunt. I don't fish.
Yeah.
I work, and I really have to say my work is my relaxation. To be able to hit it hard for 2 or 3 days and then take a day or 2 off.
Yeah.
And let somebody else pull the load for a while. That's my relaxation, I guess, is that I can pick and choose times in my day or times in my week that I just want to disengage. It's a lifestyle. To be an investigator, to be a surveillance investigator, to be an investigator in the domestic world, the family juvenile law, that aspect of surveillance or investigative work is a lifestyle. You're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're available, and you have to be because people cheat at different times. They get up at 3 a.m. supposedly to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Those are not everyday things that happen. So you have to be able to adjust from working from midnight to whenever until late at night.
What is your most common case of cheating spouses? I mean, is that the most common thing you get called on?
We do a number of cases that involve either child custody or a divorce, a family law matter in some aspect. We also do a ton of insurance defense.
Fraudulent?
Be that automotive or be that workman's comp, business, slip and fall. My company is more in the posture of defending businesses rather than we are in suing them. But we have that footprint also. We will assist the plaintiff lawyers when necessary in finding witnesses or interviewing.
So you probably have a lot of insurance companies calling you because, I mean, they've got their own private investigators as well, right?
They have their own, but what insurance companies typically do is they will hire out outside counsel to represent these different cases, and then the attorney has the latitude to invest dollars from an investigator towards the file.
I got you. You mentioned Valentine's Day, and I can certainly see because there's love in the air. And you're buying a gift for your wife, and you're buying a gift for your mistress, and you're trying to knock off both in the same day or within the same weekend. Do you find with holidays, with Halloween coming up on Sunday, that your business ramps up a little bit because people around holidays aren't normally themselves? And what I mean by that is around Thanksgiving, Christmas. We're outside, not our comfort zone, because people love these holidays if they're doing things right. But there are also a lot of opportunities to travel, to meet people you haven't seen in a while. We're very sentimental. We're nostalgic. We're reaching out to old friends. We're doing those type of things. And then to throw it into this, and I know this is a broad question, but I would think during New Year's Eves and Halloweens where we can dress up, that may be a telltale sign of what someone's up to as well.
So the depth of the marriage, I would have to call you in a little closer on that one.
Yeah.
Most of my, and this is just me, I'm not going to work on Halloween. The options don't how do I say this? The risk is not worth the reward. You have kids out there on the street. We serve a lot of lawsuits. We show up at your house, we deliver the papers, and then we leave. You're being sued for something, your notice has been given. But to do that like on a Halloween night, we're going to take the night off. Yep. Now, a lot of holidays are used.
Are you saying that because you're actually working on Halloween? You just don't want people to think they're out there?
No, I'm saying that because I don't want to run over your child out there that night. That's the only reason.
Good.
Yeah, it's not worth that credit card bill you're not paying, and they're suing you for it.
Yeah.
No, I will say that most of the affairs that occur in a marriage are picked up during the holidays. That's when people begin to see that. Say the beach time here in Alabama, everybody floods south to go to the beach for a weekend for a day or two, right? And if you're married and you're not one of these that goes to the beach by yourself, that's an odd thing that you're saying to the spouse. So that's when these things start getting picked up. Like, I'm going to a Christmas party. We've been married 12 years. You've never gone to a Christmas party. Why now? And so the spouses that are proactive begin to pick up on those things in the holidays.
Yeah. And we always talk about it from a relationship standpoint, that if something just doesn't feel right, it usually isn't right. Right. Go with your gut. And you mentioned this, I really need to lose some weight. And you've never done it before, and all of a sudden you're going to go to a 24-hour gym, and I'm going to get up a couple hours early, or I'm going to stay a couple hours late, and you're getting home at 11. It's the only time I can do it because I got to work. Something just isn't right, and you don't feel like, as a mate, you don't want to show that distrust because there's really been no reason to distrust this person in the past. But you're like, well, show me your new gym. Show me where you go.
This gym y'all have down the street here, I'm not going to say the name of it, but I think Josh might even attend. Oh, it's like we just need our own little surveillance position out there. I can't tell you how many times during the week we've dotted in and out of this gym to
Dude, that place is...
It is a meat market.
It is.
I'm just going to call it.
It is a meat market. Well, they have a cafe in there. I think people know what we're talking about, and obviously they don't spend any money on a radio station. So, but every time I drive by it, the parking lot is full, and I try to figure out what the hell's going on because I had a membership there, a swimming membership with my kids, and the parking lot would be full, but I never seen them be working out, and I'm like, where is everybody?
Can I say all that's missing is a condom dispensary in that building? I mean, that's about the only thing missing in this meat market. And when you have an individual, as you said, that wants to lose weight and they're driving 25 miles to a gym, that it doesn't make sense. And plus, they're not pulling off the pounds.
Yeah. We want to talk about some of your creepy stories. I want you to tell me about some of the strangest things you've ever gotten on video that maybe even creeped you out. It doesn't have to be scary creepy, but just creepy as a whole because we're talking about Halloween coming up on Sunday. I did want to mention something. You said you don't watch sports and you don't hunt. Have you found in your illustrious 30-plus year career with Comprehensive Investigative Group and, of course, Spy4Rent, that hunters or hunters' wives are some of the biggest cheaters?
It's an opportunity. That season creates the opportunity.
Oh, there's a guy driving to work right now with his wife, and he can't wait. He can't wait to hit his tree stand at 5:00 on Friday, and I'll be back Monday. And there's no cell phone service because we're going to be out in the woods.
Let me go ahead and tell the wife that we have this device. It's about the size of a quarter, and we can slip it in his equipment, and you'll be just fine.
I had a friend of mine who was a huge hunter, and he was hunting like deer. And it was pretty much one of these things, a caveat before they even got married. Now, I hunt. And whenever hunting season starts, and I guess it's not starting around here. I don't even know what the hunting season is around here, but it's around this time of the year because I've done it. And I know I'm cold as piss sitting in a tree all day looking for deer, and I don't catch anything because I don't smell right. But he would leave 5 o'clock by himself. He loved to hunt by himself. And I'll see you Monday morning. Well, this went on for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And after about 10 years, knowing that he was going to be gone every weekend for I don't know how long hunting season goes, during the holiday season, everything else, she would start having friends over and, well, he's going to be out of town, so come on over, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, she had her own little side gig going on. And, this is before cell phones, but and after cell phones, don't call me because it's going to scare the deer away unless it's an emergency and I can't get cell phone service where I'm going to be and blah, 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 blah. And I could see where that would be an easy get out.
Yeah, it is. You can mask it that way. The problem is that we can still see you. So it doesn't matter the story you're telling. If you're saying your vehicle is the hunting camp, I'll go ahead and tell you the only safe thing to do is bring your paramour to the hunting camp and stay there with them and don't leave because we're not going to go on private property, obviously, to try to see what you're doing. But the moment you leave, we have you. So you're called anyway. Yeah. We just picked up one from North Alabama that was, quote, going to Louisiana to hunt for the weekend, and they made it as far as Tuscaloosa, and that's where they spent the weekend.
Yeah, there's no good hunting in Tuscaloosa. I don't think you can hunt Tuscaloosa or deer inside the Tuscaloosa city limits. It's interesting too, and again, we're not talking about these things. We're not saying that all hunters cheat. There's obviously a lot of good people out there doing things, but for the fact that they actually do. Halloween's coming up on Sunday. We'll talk about some of your creepy stories. I'm going to play a couple classic rock tunes. Refresh yourself. Do what you got to do. Jeff Hammock from Spy4Rent is in the studio. One of our great sponsors here this morning, of course, is Jeff Hammock. Another one is Chris Doris' State Farm team. I'm going to stop by and see him today. I visit with him every couple of months. And great guy. Everything I have in my house, everything I have in my business, everything I have in my family is insured by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, Chris Doris' State Farm is there. He does wonderful work, and I love him. I've been with him since 1988, and I trust him. You get what you pay for. I know no matter what happens in my life, I am covered because accidents will happen one way or another, so make sure you're covered. Top 10 State Farm agent out of 18,500 worldwide, countrywide. He's unbelievable, and he's known for his expertise in the business and giving his customers everything they need at a fair price. Check out State Farm. Chris Dorsey, State Farm team, 205-985-7799. Good friend of ours, Jeff Hammock from Spy4Rent, joins us in the studio this morning. Josh is off. He'll be back again tomorrow. We've been talking about all kinds of different things from a private investigative standpoint, and I have not gotten to sex trafficking yet. I probably will, just because I think it's amazing, because I have kids, and I can't believe this is actually happening, because I don't know about these things. And I think the last time you were here, we got into the dark web.
Yeah.
That's gotta.
Yeah. Stay away from that, kids.
Let me ask you this. How you've been on the dark web, obviously. How do you get on the dark web?
You go full naked. You know that you're going to catch something. We don't go unless there's absolutely a reason. Most of that information that is pulled from there is inadmissible in a trial.
Why is that?
Well, it can't be validated.
Because it's on the dark web.
Yeah,
like say, for example.
But now your computer, like if we were investigating the mother or the father who was possibly doing some type of child porn,
yeah,
right? their computer would be imaged, and then we could see what they did in that arena. But to go in and follow someone around,
Yeah.
no. Or to sift information from there, no, because the population only runs on about 20% of the web. The other 60-70% is into that dark area, and the average person doesn't drift off into it.
So when we say the dark web, the web is the web.
The
I could get on the web right now. I could get on the dark web if I wanted to, I guess. What does that mean? What does the dark web mean? What specifically, technically speaking, if I'm on the dark web, what does that protect me from? What does that do? What's on it?
You lose the best way I can describe it is it's the platform that inserts you into the web.
Okay.
Right? It's like the finger into the water.
Mm-hmm.
You're only going to see what is surrounding that finger right there, that moment of insertion. And like Chrome, Google, DuckDuckGo, all of these platforms only take you into what would be a popular room, right, where all the other platforms exist. Beyond that, typical web browser is where you would go in through your own type of insertion into that room and begin looking around, having communications. It's a digital platform to communicate, and you can find all sorts of other platforms that allow you to find specific information. For example, if it's drug production and you want to order fentanyl, or you want to move currency, or you want to have pictures of children exchanged. There's a podcast, and it'll hit me in a minute, called Hunting Warhead. And you really need to listen to that at some point in your time, because it goes in and explains how, number one, easy it is for law enforcement to see what you're doing, even in the dark web, and capture you. Again, the dark web is all the things you're going to find that are illegal that most of the normal platforms would not host.
Yeah. It's pretty scary stuff, man, because it's amazing, too, that I've got a 17-year-old kid, and he probably knows more about that stuff than I do. And it's scary because as a parent, you want to try to fix everything, and you want to stray them away from those particular different areas. Along with that, and I know we always talk about this because I think it's incredibly relevant. Obviously, the last time you were here several months ago, Facebook is catching a lot of flack right now. There's whistleblowers all over the place, and now Snapchat, TikTok, and all these other different social media platforms are under the gun. And we don't want our government to get involved. But I say this is like having a giant bowl of gummy worms and a bunch of kids in a room and telling them you can only have one and leave. Good luck. I mean, they're, and people are like, well, you can do whatever you want on the internet and social media, and we need to be responsible enough. Well, that's true. But, I mean, some people just, that's why we had to get rid of the 44-ounce Big Gulp in New York, because people couldn't stop buying the damn thing despite the fact they were diabetic and they were 300 pounds overweight. And so I like people to hold our hands through some of these things and tell us, hey, these aren't, but I don't want to be forced to do what I got to do. Maybe that's why a lot of people aren't in the vaccination thing. But when you talk about your type of business and social media platforms, talk about how those intersect everything from the cheating husband or the wife to fraudulent activity to anything else you do, because it's amazing. It's amazing how much you can tell about a person by looking at their Facebook page or their Twitter account.
So we use the platforms to help profile who you are. Most people are unaware, but if you post something on Facebook, it is absolute evidence. That's in a domestic situation, in a divorce, in a child custody. So if you are posting a picture and you're at a party and you have what is obviously an alcoholic beverage in your hand, you cannot deny ever drinking.
Yeah.
You drink. There's a photograph of it, right? So the people who post these things now, not necessarily on a social media, but they exchange it with another phone, with another individual. Even though you delete that, we can still image your phone and go back many, many, many months of your exchanges, your calls. If, for example, you drive a brand new car now, we all have the nod sensor cameras, those sort of things. That thing is just a rolling database And if you sync your phone up to that vehicle, say a rental car,
Yeah.
so you can take your calls and your navigation. Okay. All of that stuff about your phone is now stored on a chip inside that car, and we have access to that chip. We can read it, and we can go back and undelete the information off of that chip and begin to peel back like an onion where you were 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, and sometimes see the photographs on the inside of the vehicle.
Wow. I mean, it's crazy because, we live in this world of convenience, and now I can open my drapes by saying, Alexa, open my drapes. I don't. It's just creepy to me because I still like to get up and open my own drapes.
Yeah, I have none of those devices in my home.
And you can listen to Tony Kurre Radio on Alexa and Google Play, and it's certainly something we have to do. There was a story about a woman who somehow went back through Google and I guess Alexa and got in some database, and they found out that it was either Google or Alexa had like 100,000 of her voice commands and was recording things when it wasn't supposed to be recording things. And I mean, it was crazy that there was this database, and based on her verbiage, based on brand names, based on things she was saying in there, she would get sent marketing things and different things.
I mean, you're asking for someone to always listen to what you're saying.
That scares the shit out of me, man.
Of relief to say, dim the lights, turn on the TV. But that's a lot of words that they have to go through. And these what we call the drives, where the information is stored, is supposed to be like the end of a cliff. You push it off, the old data falls off, and it continues to push off. Well, sometimes that cliff is not defined. It goes onto a hard drive forever because a tech forgot to click the button, right? So now you have a perpetual hard drive instead of a short gigabyte, megabyte hard drive, right?
Yeah.
It just gets extended on. Yeah, they're going to find stuff. And I again, if it's on an electronic device, it's there forever.
Yeah, and it's amazing because I've heard this story 100 times. I was just thinking about going to Home Depot, and the next thing I got on my phone, and there's a commercial ad for Home Depot, and I'm like, it's like they knew, and I'm like, they probably did know. And I mean, it's happened to me, and I don't use a lot of that stuff, and I'm going, how in the world? Now, sometimes I guess it's just dumb luck, that a Home Depot ad would come up when I'm thinking of it, but because we think out loud. And we're talking to people in rooms and things are listening, even when we don't say, hey, Google, do this, or hey, Alexa, do this. And I think it freaks me out, man. It freaks me out. And the car thing, to me, and my son's all about the Bluetooth, and he uses his mom's car. He won't drive the minivan. You can't do it in my minivan, and I like that. But he uses his mom's car, but whenever he gets a phone call, sure enough, it shows up on her, and he's freaking out because he doesn't want me to see who's calling. I'm like, I don't care. But that connection value there is just amazing. And the other thing is, and I don't think people think about this, is when you're selling these vehicles, right, all that stuff doesn't go away. I mean, all your information and everything you had on that Bluetooth stuff is on that vehicle. Yes. And
if you ever rent a car from the airport, go into the settings and look at the amount of junk from the last person that was left over.
Yeah.
But now, from that aspect, as an investigator, we can go in and see things that you don't see within that settings that's on that chip card, like all the old data, all the old texts that were synced up, all of that stuff. So when you sync, you make your vehicle your phone.
Yeah.
And it just makes tracking a whole lot easier.
Jeff Hammock joins us here. Always amazing stuff. He'll join us for the rest of the show. Why not? Let's get after it here on a Thursday morning here. We got Halloween coming up on Sunday. I want you to talk about some of your creepiest moments you've had while you did surveillance. I know you got some because we used to do spy stories that were great. We'll get into that in just a few seconds. You can call them anytime, 790-3051, 790-3051, area code 205, or Spy4Rent, spy the number 4rent.com. You were mentioning, and I want to get into, there's been an influx of governmental money, stimulus checks, PPP, loans, all kinds of stuff. I want to get into that in just a few minutes because I'm sure every single day I see someone get a PPP loan for $1 million and he buys a Lamborghini and a $500,000 watch and he gets busted for it. I wonder if you've done any investigative stuff on that. We'll talk about that. But I want to get back to something on the phone thing because I don't think people realize, and I hope that people that are younger that listen to our show understand the ramifications of everything they do with their phone. You were mentioning the dark web, and I have a radio partner here, and whenever I send him a spicy, salacious story, he will never respond, ever. There was a story the other day. New York has a brand new high-rise apartment building where they have a sky deck, and it's with a mirrored glass floor. So you can walk out on the floor and look down at things, but it's mirrored.
Right.
And so it's turned into this voyeuristic.
A lot of upskirt, right?
All upskirt. And there's cameras on the observation deck for safety reasons.
Right.
And so the people seeing these things, so if you're wearing a skirt and you're going on this and it's the summertime or late summertime, there's going to be a ton of upskirt video. And those are making, and I'm going, dude, first of all, it's just like creepy. And second of all, would I look at it? I can only, because guys can't keep secrets, dude, you're not going to believe. I mean, they're probably going great. She's on the 87th floor, turn on the cameras. And so I sent him the story because it's a good story. And I was going to talk about it. I don't really know what the angle was on it. And, of course, I sent it to him. And did you get that story? I mean, not even.
Nothing.
And so he's very protective in that way. Talk about the ramifications of resending things like that, because you've talked at depth about high school kids who get pictures of other high school kids. They think it's funny or they think it's great. You're not going to believe this, so-and-so, blah, blah, taking videos at parties and everything else and resending that stuff to other phones, because once it's sent to you, you can say, I didn't want it, but then if you resend it, what does that do to you?
Well, you're transmitting. You're in possession and redistribution of whatever that
of porn,
item,
of whatever it is.
Whatever the photograph, video, or comment is. If you take Josh's position and you just ignore it and don't reply, then you've not engaged in the conversation. He may have deleted that story on his device. He's instituted some form of self-protection of either image or his device, right? I don't want to show a comment. I get text messages that are inappropriate, and I don't reply.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to have that reply back, ha ha, lots of laughs, whatever. I delete that particular transmission.
You saw it.
I saw it.
You can talk to him later.
We don't have to do it electronically. But kids these days are reposting and pushing, and they've grown up with these phones that just work at their brain's desire. They push the button, it's gone, and they've satisfied their brain, but they have absolutely no understanding what they're sending, what they're doing, how they're criminally implicating themselves. Even with the quote bullying now, when you're using an electronic device, you're implicated if you reply and send or forward. So you have to be very careful as parents that are getting their kids these first-time devices, and especially their teens. My kids were subject to GPS tracking when they were dating. They were subject. I trained my investigators on my kids, right? They had a date. I'd hire 2 investigators that, needed some extra training, and I'd let them work on my kids, right? I knew they were going to be safe. I had extra eyeballs out there with them, and my kids knew sometime there might be one of Dad's employees out there taking a photograph just to practice, right? Their phones were no different. Their cars had GPSs. I could flag their phone anytime and say, not sure what you did. Let's look at the last 24 hours. And it worked. One's a doctor, one's a manager. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
And,
the other thing I think is really interesting too, and I love to send a big fat ham sandwich into a room full of fat people and just stand back and watch, right? We do that all the time. I used to do that on the radio. Strum the strings, throw it out there, and just let them go after it, and it creates this thread, this feed. And then the next morning, I'll look and I'll go, wow, that just got 2,000 retweets or 2,000 comments on it. I'm like, wow, that thing took off. That was amazing. And to go through that feed to respond or even retweet or resend any of that thread is to say to the other 2,000 people that I believe all of it.
Yeah.
Unless you specifically, because it's real easy just to hit retweet and everyone that's tied to it. And it's bit me in the ass 3 or 4 different times where I'll like something or I'll say, that's right, or I'm with you, and then find out that 3 tweets before that it was something that I truly didn't believe in, and I'm like, God, because it got resent back out. So you just got to be careful what you're doing there. It's kind of crazy. Jeff Hammock joins us here from Spy4Rent, Spy4Rent, spy4rent.com, 790-3051, 790-3051. Jeff Hammock from Spy4Rent's been in the studio all morning. Love having him in. We love catching up. We should probably run some audio on the stuff we talk about off the air. No, we won't. You know, we Dr. Josh and I had this brilliant idea when we started our show 3 or 4 years ago. Let's do something called Kurre and Klapow off mic, and we'll have somebody come in the studio and just keep the stuff running in audition. And because some of the stuff we do off air is just through the roof funny, and then we listen to it for about 15 minutes. We're like, oh hell no,
No.
that's never going to happen. But it's really good stuff, and that's probably the stuff that you probably do surveillance on.
Yeah. So we try to do what's called plugging our cameras, plug our mics on our cameras so it doesn't pick up the audio. But some of the investigators don't. I'm guilty of that, but I'm mindful of what I say when my camera's up and we're filming someone. But those conversations among investigators on the radio about, wow, did you see her just do that?
Yeah. Much like the radio business, we used to always say any mic is a hot mic. There you go. I put Baywatch on for you this morning. Dr. Josh is going to be angry that he's not here to see this.
Josh.
We always say that any mic is a hot mic. And we say that for years because invariably or inevitably, there will be a time in your life where there's going to be, and I've done it here, where I'm sitting here talking to Josh, and I look down and my button's not on. I'm like, oh no, someone will text, hey, your mic's hot, and they can barely hear what I'm saying, but it's enough for them to go, dude, your mic's hot. And I've been doing radio for 40 something years, right? The shooting with the Alec Baldwin situation. It really is unbelievable, and it's so salacious, and it's perfect for our culture because we love celebrities, and there's so many other things that are much more important, I think, priority-wise, because certainly we had loss of life, which is sad, but it's a celebrity we know, we like, and here's this movie thing, and we find out that there was a live round in this Colt 45 that he shot, and I'm thinking, how in the world is that possible? And again, they're told the same thing we are. Any gun is a live gun if you have a gun. So I want you to share with us, and we have a few more minutes. I want you to share with us some of the most dangerous situations you've been in, if you can. And second of all, I want you to tell me some of the creepiest things that you've ever seen or surveillanced, if you possibly can. Obviously, your anonymity is of utmost importance here because you're a spy and a private investigator. But if you could share a couple of those stories, we'll start with the most dangerous situation. I've heard the concrete shoes one.
Yeah, I got caught.
Had guns pulled on you?
Yeah, I've been caught. Caught is subjective to either them flipping the bird at you if they go through the red light, know, or like you said, the feet are tied up, there's a gun to the back of the head, and it's going to be a bad day. That one still makes me nervous. I don't like going back to.
No, you don't have to talk about it.
No, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. That's what I get for messing around somewhere where I shouldn't have been in the first place, right?
Yeah,
that's
the
story.
But see, I know you as a very stealthy individual, and we mentioned we'll do remotes, and you'll be standing right behind me, and I won't know it. And I mean that's considered stealthy to me. You're very good at what you do when you are doing surveillance, and you're an expert at what you do. Because I would venture to guess 99% of the time the person doesn't know they're under surveillance. At what point do you believe that maybe you're tipped off, or is this a feeling? Do you get hot flashes? What is it that? And I would think of you after the third or fourth or fifth time, and obviously with your camera equipment you can shoot far enough away that they wouldn't see you. But I mean, But I'm saying, it's weird because I see more people sitting in cars now than I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if it's because they're waiting for carry out. I don't know. I saw a guy in a parking lot yesterday. He was just sitting in his car on his phone. I'm like, is he waiting on his wife? What's he doing? There's more people sitting in cars right now than I've ever seen in the history of this world. So how do you know when perhaps someone's been tipped off by you?
It's a feeling. It's a skill set that you develop. Learning to read faces, watching their actions, watching that head continue to turn. Is it turning all the way? Is it the person they're speaking with now, both of them simultaneously looking at you or in your direction? And again, we use equipment that stands us off far enough that you're not going to see me across the parking lot or up on the hill somewhere. Our cameras can reach out and pick you up pretty far. They're not obviously the TV type cameras. They're the ones you buy in a store, but the zoom on those are adaptable that stands us off. The way the guy that caught me, that was the bad day, I thought I was being stealthy, but, the booger stepped on me.
Yeah.
And literally stepped on the side of my leg as he was walking through the side of the trail that I was on. And that's when he caught me.
Wow. Where can you, and I just got a text from a friend of mine, where can you shoot surveillance legally? We talked about this, and I think it's really interesting because talk about the differences between having surveillance inside someone's home, if they live there, if they allow that, is that permissible? Obviously, in public, you can shoot whatever you want, wherever you want. Correct? Mm-hmm. You can shoot video of anyone in public, but where do you draw the lines as far as and where something will be? Because you're not going to shoot video if it's not permissible. Correct?
Right. You're not going to turn that camera on. There's an issue in Alabama law called criminal surveillance, and it is a vague thing, but you're really not going to engage a recording device interior to someone's home unless they leave that option open. Now, that could be the shades on all the windows are open, and from a public position, public property, street, sidewalk, whatever, you can see the activity inside that home, then that individual has not established privacy, and you can film anything.
So if someone's walking naked in front of their window, you can video it.
Got a lot of that. Got a lot of that video.
Probably on purpose, yeah.
But it's all taken either from a street and it's taken from a warm body. It's not like I go out there and put a camera on a pole and film this and then download it. That is the criminal surveillance aspect of it.
So you cannot put a robotic camera on a pole and be shooting inside someone's home even if the window's open?
No, but you can put a robotic camera up somewhere and capture the departure of a vehicle coming and going from the residence.
Because that's considered in public.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Because and when you want to get a surveillance shot, what is deemed proper? Can you get on roofs? Do you have to ask to get on a roof? Can you, if you're going to be sitting in someone's parking lot for 3 hours and you've done it, do you go inside?
Banks give us the hard problems. It's banks. We usually check in. I'll go in and tell them I'm an investigator, give them my card, give them my ID, and say I'm going to be tucked into your corner of your parking lot over here. But everyone else is just oblivious to what's going on around them.
Is that something you need to ask for?
No.
It's
a parking lot. It's a parking lot. Now, if it's private property, you go through a gate, you go through a fence, something like that. You probably want to get permission.
With all the surveillance you've done, and I'm sure you've seen some things. You've sent me a couple things that you're like, I'm sitting there looking at some dude with some girl, and next thing you know, you see something that you ain't. I forget the last one you showed me. I was like, what in the hell? You're like, yeah, I don't know where this came from. I may have another case. What are some of the creepiest things you've seen on surveillance, if you can share that?
So the girl next door who left her family and husband for the guy, the satanic guy, I think we did a spy story on.
Yep.
That was the creepiest looking man I've ever seen. I mean, you could just about see the devil coming out of this man.
Yeah.
In personality. We don't see creepy stuff. Creepy stuff are not the sex offenders or the perverts. That's creepy, right? But creepy isn't scary. No.
Yeah.
Those sort of things.
Jeff Hammock joins us here from Spy4Rent. Spy4Rent, spy4rent.com, 790-3051, 790-3051. How much fraud, you talked about earlier, insurance fraud and fraudulent stuff. There has been In a perfect world, if all the money that's being given to stimuluses and all that stuff is going to the right place, that'd be great.
I would say if you want to fix yourself against fraud, vehicle fraud, go to your State Farm.
Yeah.
And talk to him. You need to start looking at what Alabama requires by law. I mean, they have a fixed flat rate that you carry as a minimum payout, but they have all these additional riders that never get put on a policy that actually protect the driver from this. For example, if you're a passenger in a car, can you sue the driver?
I don't know. Can you?
No, just turn that over to State Farm. Let them tell you.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of little, I never thought about that until I've banged my car up and I've created $60,000 in medical claims.
Yeah.
Right. And then you realize it was just another $8 a year for something that would have covered you.
Do you investigate PPP loans and stuff like that from the standpoint of that's something that's outside your jurisdiction?
Only if they're fraudulent and in the course of a divorce.
Yeah.
Would we look into those? Other than that, no. People are getting them every day, buying all sorts of nice stuff.
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming in. Watch your social media post.
Yeah, somebody else will be watching.
Everyone's got to share everything they're doing, man. And it's funny because we have this Facebook memories. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen to social media as we know it, whether it's regulated or something. I don't know how much it's going to change, but it's amazing to me. I'll see something that I posted 3 or 4 years ago. And it's not dirty or anything, but I'll go, well, that was kind of weird. Well, I'm going to, why did I put? And in most cases, because I'm an entertainer, I think, oh, this will be funny, or this will be something that someone would want to see because you're always looking for responses or retweets or reposts or whatever. And most of the times I'll think twice about it. I'll go, Probably like the time I was topless and I put my hands over my nipples to make fun of Britney Spears. I thought that was a little strange. Then I actually had my daughter take that picture.
Now that's the strange.
That is kind of strange. Jeff, thank you so much for coming in this morning, man.
Anytime.
I love you, brother. Jeff Hammock, Spy4Rent. If you need a spy PI, really, and I always say this, I don't know how to dumb this down, but if you need information on some type of aspect of something, this guy can get the information you're looking for. He's that good. Spy4Rent. Jeff Hammock, 790-3051, 790-3051.